Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on America's soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. How you doing? Thanks for tuning into my show. Appreciate it. Little distraction there. But if someone's trying to get to me, give me some information out there, let me know. No biggie. Get started here on my show, though. Appreciate you being with me this afternoon, Thursday. Should be a nice show. We're going to be taking it easy. Got some topics to get into. The riggers, we got riggers out of control. People are saying that's racialized language. Funny and silly, but a little emblematic of some things going on. We'll be getting into some stuff here, though. There's some mess. There's some mess with some relationship mess, public relationship mess that I've commented on before. And, you know, I love signal boosting. So we're going to talk about Keke Palmer's episode 2, the saga continues. There might be a little something deep in between the mess. I want to get into some other clips and nonsense and interesting and maybe even deep things here. We'll get into all that and your calls. 888-775-3773 if you want to jump in the calls here. We'll get started. We'll be taking them. You can just hold and be patient, and we'll get to all of you. Follow, subscribe here on YouTube. Drop me that engagement, that like, that follow. It helps a lot, let me tell you. It helps the channel a lot. As well as over there on Rumble, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. The party's going. I see you guys over there. Appreciate that. American Anchor Baby over on Rumble. You know, we're trying to grow the Rumble a little bit. You never know. But I see you. Silent few, but still faithful. Thank you for that. Right on. I see you all in the chat. Thank you, always being there. The faithful, the core. Okay. So, riggers, you've heard this. Riggers. We got riggers. Riggers are ruining the country. I'm talking about Trump. We're talking Trump. And you know about Trump. A lot going on. But what can we do? What can we do but watch and watch, really? What can you do but watch? We'll do our best, I guess, voting booths, and when that time comes, when the time comes for the correct thing, we'll be there. But what can we do? Just watch. You know what I mean? And support to see its logical conclusion. As things heat up, 2024 around the corner. Time flies, huh? Getting to August. In no time at all, we'll be here next year in the middle of what seems to be a big old fight. Don't know. It seems looming, but we'll see. And in the spirit of all this, people want to ignore anything important. Of course, anything important, anything to ignore the important or anything of substance, welcome to my show, to talk about and focus on hate, anger, and silly words like riggers. Riggers. it rhymes with another word, and other people are seeing that connection. I'm talking about Trump's recent comments. He made what you could call it a truth on his social media platform, Truth Social. What's up, everybody? I see you guys saying hello in the chat. Hello, hello. But yeah, Trump. I got the statement here. We'll read it in a second, but we got to read it in context here, okay? We're going to read out Trump's statement where he used this word riggers, but first we got to let's put ourselves in the shoes of the offended for a moment here. As evil as that may sound, as satanic as that may sound, let's channel the demonic spirit just for a second and see how they saw this statement. If they're honest, if they're being honest at all. I'm talking about Al Sharpton and others who are mad that Trump would say such a word that sounds way too close to the N-word. He was talking about riggers of the election, which that's what Trump's saying, right? So let me see if I can pull this up because Sharpton's not happy, okay? And you got to understand something here. We'll get the meaning out of all this in a moment. As silly as it is, just trying to pull up this newfangled system. There you go, bingo. So check it out. Let's watch this clip here of Al Sharpton. What's Al Sharpton mad about today, right? And why are we even giving attention? Well, let's just watch this.
And the racial language. I mean, this woman to call a federal office or call a judge's chambers talking about to a slave using a word that rhymes with the N-word. Donald Trump himself, their leader, using the term riggers, which clearly rhymes with the N-word. I mean, this is not 10 years ago or 30 years ago when we marched against him on the Central Park 5. I'm talking about within the last 24 hours, used the term riggers. Is this the kind of party the Republicans want to show the country that they are? There's no wonder independents are running away from them. To identify with blatant racism and blatant violence is not the party that we need. And I've never been a Republican, never leaned their way, but we need a two-party system. But we don't need one that prides itself in bigotry.
Yeah, and Trump has used, of course, that racist and inflammatory language for so long and only leading into it further as he's dealing with.
It's such a funny thing to call Trump this flaming wild racist when he's pretty even-keeled, like liberal kind of on that. You know him as a nice... You know him as Trump, nice guy. Wants everybody to do well. Wants to help everybody. Okay, wants everybody to do well. Wants to help everybody. That's how he is. You know, I wouldn't see him. Be against like programs or whatever for minorities. In fact, there was this recent spat with the inside of the Republican Party. And it was about Ron DeSantis recently saying something about slavery and how his curriculum or a curriculum he supports something along those lines. That the curriculum teaches that at one time there may have been benefits to that slaves may have benefited from slavery in one way or another. And I've heard this before, that this used to be taught in school that there were good slave owners. And so there was a spat in the Republican Party about this. You remember this recently. And some of the rhinos, like Tim Scott and some others, they attacked Ron DeSantis saying, well, listen, we're all anti-woke. Hey, look, hey, CRT, anti-woke, right on. Put my name on it. There's a bill that's anti-CRT. Put my name on it, and I'm there. But slavery, there being even one good slave owner, kind of throwing logic out the window. Logic and for what? For feeling bad. So you remember that spat. And I remember at the time, I was thinking I might have even said this. I hope Trump doesn't come out. I hope Trump, because I could totally see it. I hope Trump doesn't come out in defense, attacking DeSantis in the same way, saying, yeah, you're I don't know about this DeSantis guy saying that about slavery. I'm with you guys. This is too far for me. I almost saw Trump or Trump's team putting something out like that. So I just find it funny calling them just so racist, just like this rabid racist. It's just obviously wrong. You know, I could totally see him. No, just like some kind of support for the slaves and admonishing of all slavery. As based as he may be, I think I'm reminded of a clip I saw recently where Trump was talking about a quote he said about Mussolini. They're like, "Are you sure you want to be tied up with Mussolini?" He's like, "It's an interesting quote. Who cares who said it?" So maybe he's not that. He wouldn't be that far gone, huh? New York liberal. Anyways, off topic here. They're blasting him over the Riggers comment. He said Riggers, what a racist. And of course, this judgmental, mind-reading nature of the blacks really is on display here, but not quite. That's easy to go there. This judgmental, mind-reading nature, like, oh, that meant racism. That you're calling us the N-word without calling us the N-word. That's what you're doing. We got Riggers in Georgia. If you don't know, I mean, the Fulton County District was kind of known to be, isn't it known to be a little bit more black? It was, what did they say about the election workers in Georgia? Black election, I remember seeing headlines like this, black election workers and versus Trump. Yeah, they would, Trump slammed for, Georgia a tale of two election workers. Election workers. They would have these flowering and gushing editorial, op-eds and fluff pieces on these black female election workers in Georgia, and they would purposely pit them either overtly or in between the lines, would pit Trump and the black election workers. And of course, you got to understand the undertones of Trump's racism, rampant racism and rampant white nationalism, they call it. So in that light, you see what I'm describing. But, it's not just emblematic of that, because that's a little silly. What's really silly about this is that anyone would allow this fool, this race-hustling fool who should be by now exposed, okay? I mean, anyone falling for that, you got to understand they're trying to pit us against each other. These people like Al Sharpton, people who are around Al Sharpton in that clip, just going along with him, say, yeah, right on. Say inflammatory racist language. This is the statement that Trump put on his Truth Social. A large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud which took place in Georgia is almost complete. It will be presented by me at a major news conference next week in Bedminster, New Jersey. He says, based on the results of this conclusive report, all charges should be dropped against me. There will be complete exoneration. They never went after those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers, in all caps. I mean, racialized language, whatever. But they were trying to pit, the media has been forming that narrative for a while. I was just trying to point out here with the black election workers versus Trump. Since 2020, really. Yeah, I grew up thinking everybody knew Al Sharpton was a joke, not to be taken seriously. Yeah, and you would think it's like by now. You would think it's you got to like pivot. You got to like, can we get some respect? Can we get some respect on this side's name, on Jesse Lee Peterson's name? Can we get some respect here? Because in an ongoing fight here, you got to follow me here. Not like an ideological fight, I guess, between the W.B. Du Bois-esque spirit that is alive today in the NAACP, that spirit that runs through Martin Luther King into Al Sharpton to today. That spirit in that fight, okay, you follow me? And I guess anyone against that and trying to bring light to it, you would think that the enemy would at least show some respect and pivot and think of something new. And they've thought of, I guess, new things, new ways. But it's really the same thing. It's police. It's like, hey, blacks, you're being killed in the streets. And they're like shooting each other. They're like destroying there's like gangs destroying the neighborhoods. They're like shooting each other. And they're like, what? This guy's right. The police is killing us. The police are killing us. So it's like, you would think, come on, where's the respect? People like Jesse Lee Peterson, everyone, they've already exposed these people, beyond exposed them, you would think. Where's the respect on the enemy side? Pivoting here, think of something new, but I guess they don't have to. But I guess it's easy to control people that are angry. Right? Okay. So, black election workers, v. Trump. That's what they've been saying. What else here? Yeah, don't get brainwashed. It goes deep, I guess. We already gave Jesse an ethno-state pass. Yep. What's up, Matt? Living the dream? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Do you mind if I show later on here in the show, you made some changes in your life, Matt Living the Dream. I believe that it brought you some positive changes in health. I'd be nice to showcase them just a little bit, some comments on it that I just thought. I saw that someone sent it to me, Hake sent it to me that you commented, I believe, on my last show, and I just totally missed it. Martin Luther King Boulevard requires one to be in body armor. Yeah. You guys see what I'm saying about that? That spirit all the way through. You would think it continues today, but it's kind of the same old story, huh? Civil rights. Oh, civil rights, we want housing. It's crazy because I'll see there's this fight about gentrification and housing and stuff. When they're mad about making some places better. White people moving in, making places, I guess, a little better, but more expensive. And instead of, actually working together for affordable stuff for everybody, it's a racial thing. It's like a fight. And the people making it expensive, subsidizing stuff, skimming off the top, making things a little bit harder to run for their own enrichment. The Al Sharptons, they laugh, they head back, they kick their head back, and lightning cracks behind them. Super villains. I mean, we're just whatever. Anyways, hey, that's whatever. Riggers, we got Riggers worried about fake things. Can we put some respect on Jesse? I mean, not only have we enjoyed 30 years, and in those 30 years there, a complete exposing and should be career-ending exposings of Al Sharpton and stuff like that. Also, can we put respect on racism itself? Yeah, racism itself, not real. So let me get into some mess. Oh, man. Hold on, my computer. Okay, so I want to get into some mess here because I've talked about this individual pretty recently, I think. It was Keke Palmer. You know about Keke Palmer? Keke Palmer, actress. She was in what? Nope? What movie was that? Was it Nope? Yeah, Nope. Was it an alien? Is that a spoiler alert? The alien movie, UFOs. Very thematic. Keke Palmer was in a controversy recently over some comments of her, I guess now ex-boyfriend, Darius Jackson, who they have a child together, okay? So it's not just a little nothing boyfriend, girlfriend. They made a kid together. So now that they got that to deal with. I've talked about them before because Keke Palmer was criticized by first Darius Jackson and then by the internet, which became a public spat when she went to a concert, an Usher concert. You know Usher. Heart throb Usher. And he didn't like what she was wearing, and he made a public comment about it on Twitter, said, hey, you're a mother. Dressing like that, I don't think that's quite the right thing you should be doing. And so people had their criticisms. Should you really be saying that publicly? Now, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe he asked her. Maybe he tried telling her privately. But we don't know that side of the story. Anyway, she didn't like that. She didn't quite like that. There was videos coming out where she was at this concert getting all, what was it? I forget if it was, there was some lap dancing going on, okay? And so I made the comment, I brought it up on the show about, well, how should people behave in public, in relationships with when you're a mother? Also when you're boyfriend, girlfriend, because there's that side of the story as well. What authority do you have when you're a boyfriend? What kind of authority do you really have? Yeah, I'm not. Maybe you have some authority, right? You're the father of a child here, but the woman doesn't. At least the woman in this case doesn't seem to respect it. So we got into that a little bit. We took your calls about it. Some people agreed. People disagreed. How dare you tell a woman what to wear? I say that's your job. In most cases. So anyways, Keke Palmer. She went off. Let me just pull it up here. So you know the saga as it is now. You see the update here. The update is that I believe they're not together anymore. Let me see here. I'm a little lost here. Let me pull up my show. Everything just closed on me. But you're following, right? So drama. Basically, Keke Palmer's in a music video with Usher now, okay? It's like a big middle finger, like it's a big FU. That's how I see it. To Darius Jackson. She gives little cheeky Palmer nods to the whole fiasco. Now there's gossip blogs that I'm here reading. What have I come to? About how they're no longer together. Palmer seemingly responded to it, this whole thing, by starring in a music video for none other than You Got It Bad. Singer, Usher, titled Boyfriend. She's dancing all up and doing her thing. Sultry song that repeats, somebody said that your boyfriend was looking for me. Oh, that's cool. And so I take it as a big F you to the guy. Like, you can't tell me what to do. And not only that, I'm going to be dancing in this video with Usher, heartthrob Usher, blah, blah, blah. It's such a mess. It's such a mess because it brings into light a couple things. The way we live wrong. We try and make things wrong work out right. These people were apparently dating like 2 years. Dating 2 years. They've had this child for 6 months. It turns out like this, and everybody loses. You know that everybody loses, right? We lose. I know it's public and their personal thing, but the world loses. That being said, it's not we're not blaming society on Keke Palmer here. It's more like the other way around. She doesn't have to go along with it. She's still responsible, but you know what I mean here? It's like a way bigger picture here. Societal. So Keke Palmer, Darius Jackson, amid controversy. Let me just pull this up. I wish I could show you too. If I could just show you the video, the music video. I'll probably get copyright struck. But I mean, I guess how do you feel? How should you feel? Here's the thing. Here's my thing about it though. Just to not put too much time into something so silly. But what I wanted to point out is why is it that women get to do this, and then on the other side of this, go like, yeah, I'm just being a strong single mother. Let me pull up the quote here. And then all the women just kind of get together and they get to justify wrong. They say, being a single mother is so hard. She made some comments where she's now basically a single mother. Oh, sometimes she basically says, in fact, I think we could just show you. Hold on here. We have the technology. What a mess. Silliness, but check it out. Okay. I think we got it.
Clip off your angel wing.
Okay, let's do it.
Here to say, if you are a single parent, pull out your cape. Matter of fact, clip off your angel wings. Because I don't know how you did it. And I really don't want this to sound like, pandery or something like this. Because I know there's 1,000,001 reasons why somebody wants to be a single parent or has become a single parent. Maybe they lost somebody. Maybe they don't want to deal with somebody. Maybe it's a choice.
Sorry.
But when it comes to raising a kid, I've already learned in these short few days that it takes a village. And sometimes that's a privilege. And I just want anybody out there that is a single parent that's been doing this, friends of mine, people that I don't know, family members of mine, I'm really in my heart, bring tears to my eyes. I am just truly, profoundly impressed.
Jeez. And look, this emotional mess is actually really evil and kind of a huge problem in society. Okay, there's a deeper thing to it all. Okay, and maybe I'm not saying I completely understand it here. I'm not saying I'm deep. I'm just saying there is. We all sense it. We all know it. It's not even Kiki herself. But it's so amazing. I mean, don't you think, Kiki, maybe just a few days, maybe just a few short days, maybe maybe you should marinate a little longer and see what lessons you may have learned, because she's already in her mind, I already learned my lesson. And in these few short days, now I understand. It takes a village. I mean, oh, man. It's like, can we give it a few more days, maybe, marinate, and maybe really reflect before you conclude on what lessons you may have learned from all this? And she's praising the single mothers, and she says, and it could have happened to you in many ways. Maybe someone died, or maybe you just don't want to deal with someone. She throws in, is that really ladies? Is that really a reason? Is that a reason at all for divorce, for breaking up with your baby daddy? Is that a reason? Let's be real. Because there's this notion, especially with younger people, I'm seeing it more on the TikToks. You saw that Mia Khalifa video that went viral that Joel Friday played on Tuesday. Don't be confused. Joel Friday on Tuesday. Played this clip on Tuesday, this former porn star, right? You got to understand, giving marriage advice to people. Not saying that you can't, but there's one thing is overcome. One thing is saying, yeah, that's wrong, and overcome it and being and going on to sin no more, as Jesus told the lady who was to be stoned. And another is to go on TikTok and tell your many followers, yeah, girl, if you don't like it, if you don't want to be in it, it's time to move on. It's time to move on from him. That's really the notion. You got to understand, 80% divorce rate. You hear this stat. You hear the red pillars. The red pill say the stat, but if there's even somewhat true, we've got a big issue here. We're in trouble, guys. Two sides to the issue, right? Guys being weak, but the women being evil. And that's weak, too, right? Evil is weak in the men. But it doesn't get called out in the women. That's the point here. The women, if that stat is to be believed at all, then what's the mentality? The mentality is, oh, I'm just not happy. I just don't want to deal with it. You got to see the praise this woman is getting, okay? Right on girl, and it's black women in the comments. She says very cheeky Palmer in the comments. She does say, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked. So maybe that's a little bit of a white pill. Some people not totally agree with Keke Palmer here, but I'm just seeing, I guess they've just been upvoted above all the criticism. It's black women in the comments. Black women in the comments. And so I don't understand. You see the fight between men and women in general. It seems bad in the black community or whatever. How is anything going to get better? Ladies, if a reason for breakup, if a reason for divorce, reason for it is just, I don't want to deal with it. And yeah, they weren't married. So what authority? Clearly the authority was never even there. You could have your criticisms like Darius Jackson didn't need to go publicly tweeting about this and embarrassing her. But let's say he never really brought it up to her privately. And maybe he was wrong for that. There was wrongness on both sides, as all things, right? Okay, but hold on. Don't you think that she could have led by example and said, you know what? I didn't think about that, honey. Baby daddy. Ooh, cringe. I didn't think about that, baby daddy. Maybe fix that. But I didn't think about that. Baby daddy, you're right. I'm sorry. And that would have been like a teaching moment for black women everywhere. Instead of all the black women that are in your comments who are resigned to hate. And I guess it continues. Broken home, broken stuff, bad for everybody. Not to like harp on this, blah, 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 blah. So bad, Keke Palmer. But, I mean, what do you guys think about this video? It's like, how come women get to just, they do this thing where it's like, I learned this lesson and I'm so strong for it now. Hold on. Well, can we earn stuff, y'all? Can we earn stuff? And guys too. I mean, I heard this wisdom once. Don't give people a reason. Don't give people a reason. That doesn't mean to care about what people think about you. But put your best foot forward and don't give people a reason to judge. Oh, we're not married. We're got this or that issue. Just if you focus on yourself, lead a more upstanding life. You know what I'm saying? Don't give people a reason. Before you get worried about your reputation, the next time before you get worried about someone misjudging you, they haven't seen the growth in you, and you get mad or something, before you do anything like that, just look at yourself and see, did you give people a reason? You know how judgmental people are anyways, right? So why get mad at it? If they got you pegged wrong, let them get you wrong. Okay, so Keke Palmer, can we take something a little good from all this? I guess. Get married. If you're gonna do it right. And maybe see what's coming beforehand. Make sure you're the head. Make sure you'll have signs, right? They weren't married. You can have your criticism. What authority are you going to have? But you can kind of see it from the beginning. I guess accidentally having a child. Could you call it accidental? Maybe. Could you say that it's accidental? Maybe they planned. Maybe they meant to do this unmarried. But if it was accidental, maybe that's already not in the driver's seat. Am I right, fellas? You got to be in the driver's seat. Anyways. Take what I've said and go further. Discover more on your own, because maybe I could be a little shallow sometimes, but you guys get somewhere what I'm getting at here, right? Gotdang Riggers. I get life advice from watching Lil Baby's videos. What have you learned from that? I'm seeing you guys in the chat. What are you guys up to? Before we move on, Loosey Goosey Show. What else? You seen this guy? Have you seen this guy? Is this a green line? Is this a failure of the green lines? Fellas. What do we got here? You seeing this? I believe this is Darius Jackson. I don't know. I'm seeing a tilt away from you. And if you believe any of that green line male astrology, sorry, buddy. That means she doesn't like you. It means she hates you. Fellas, your green lines. If you could draw some green lines through their body and head tilt, what would it look like? What do you see here? Do you see a solid line going through the middle of this man, and a line from her leaning into him, expressing her trust? Or do you see a tilt away? Uh-oh. Every day, this green line stuff sounding more and more. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's some people online who believe that if you could draw green lines in the photos of couples, and that might tell you a lot about them. But maybe some things are as simple as woman lean into man, not man lean into woman. It's just simple. Right on. Let me see here. Okay, so I want to talk about, what shall we do? Standards, falling standards big time. You know, it's kind of fits what we're saying here a little bit. Dang, I need to green line all my exes. Why do people smile for photos? That's another thing that's another one I've heard. Smiling for photos. It's a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're showing that you're weak, and so you're smiling to be non-threatening. And that's what people. So if you smile in a photo, sorry, your first kid's gonna be a daughter. Sorry, little Michael is gonna actually be Michelle. I wonder how many people get worried about that when they hear Jesse's talk about it. Real men have boys first, and they're like, oh, no, I don't want to have a girl. A self-fulfilling prophecy? Whoa. But what were you saying? Smiling, yeah. You're non-threatening. They call it soy face. You've heard of this? They call it soy face. This is the most egregious of the smiling phenomena. You know, I heard that people used to not smile in photos. That's more of a modern thing. You're seeing soy face now. Taking the non-threatening, I'm not a threat, I'm under you smile to its extreme, to its absolute modern extreme. Sorry, ladies. I'm sorry, ladies. Maybe this is all you... Sometimes this is all you guys got, huh? Anyways. Moon Cricket Stinks. Thanks for the super chat. Says, hey, Nick. Hey, Nick, you want me to call it? Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to pull up the super chats here. Hey, Nick, you want me to call in? Talk about the state of Western women. What you got something to say about Western women and the manosphere? You're welcome to call in 888-775-3773. If you have some comments on that or a question or a disagreement, you're welcome to call in. Standards, falling standards. Okay, yeah, they showed the InfoWars guy. You know, they'll put anybody up with a soy face. Okay, so there was someone else's chat I wanted to comment on before moving on. Okay. Let's move on. Let us move on. Green line, soy face. Is smiling too much beta. Anyways. Loosey goosey. Let's move on. Wow, you know what? Let's wake up. Let's wake up with some exciting. How about you sick people want excitement, don't you? How about we wake up? Let's get the energy up a little bit here. Mackenzie Sharilla. You heard about this? Mackenzie Sharilla. Wild story of a young girl. She's a woman. She's a grown woman, really, 19, who was found guilty for accelerating a vehicle into the side of a building, killing her boyfriend and a friend of her boyfriend in what they're calling a mission of death. It is a wild story. Ohio teen, what's going on in Ohio? I mean, wake up. Here's some excitement, you guys. Jeez, whatever.
Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder.
19-year-old Mackenzie 𝒔𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 crying uncontrollably as the judge declared her guilty on multiple counts of murder in the deaths of her 20-year-old boyfriend Dominic Russo and his 19-year-old friend Davion Flanagan. She was convicted on all 12 charges she was facing, including those of felonious assault and aggravated vehicular homicide.
She had a mission, and she executed it with precision.
The judge said 𝒔𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔, who was 17 at the time of the crash, had morphed from a responsible driver with 2 passengers into, quote, literal hell on wheels down an obscure route that she had just visited a few days before, pushing the pedal to the floor, demanding an ultimate speed of 100 miles per hour.
The intent was obvious upon seeing that video that there was only one goal, and the computer demonstrated that there was no attempt to slow down or stop, that it was full speed into a building, and tragically it cost 2 people their lives.
The prosecution says 𝒔𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 crashed the car in July 2022 to end her toxic and tumultuous relationship with Russo, and that Flanagan was just backseat cargo. Flanagan's mother telling us today she agrees with that take.
We are just thankful that we feel justice was served today. There's not a day that goes by that we don't miss our son, and justice was served for him today. But honestly, there's no winners here. There's no winners here today.
Oh man, so I mean, it's not that much of a stretch or change from what we were talking about here. The brokenness. This is how everybody pays. Okay, everybody pays. Brokenness of the families. They continue in this way. You might not see it like that, but it is. We're trying to keep things working that just don't work, I guess. And you would think you would just be smart if something's causing you pain. If something's causing you pain, you would just go the other way. If a person, a relationship, right? It's too painful. But something drives us to stay together. You know what I mean? And then make babies. Holy. Mackenzie 𝒔𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔, 19, will be facing some serious charges, I guess. This Russo, Dominic Russo, you know, people are saying she paid the, what is that? What do they say about the coal? I don't know. Does that fit here? Because this is the guy. Something about paying the toll. That's a little different, though. Isn't that when a woman gets beat up by, what, an interracial man? Is that what I'm understanding here? Mexican Russo, Dominic Russo, maybe a Boricua, looking like a Boricua, looking like this is the friend that was killed in the same vehicle. Oh, wow, they have video of the crash, too. You know, there's no sound right now, but I guess this is that stretch of road they were talking about in the news story. As she drove it 100 miles per hour into the side of this corner of this building. I mean, pretty violent stuff. You got to be out of your mind. Anger. Holy. It's when they get beat up. Okay, right. Italian, Nick's cousin. Okay. You guys got jokes. Y'all got jokes. You got to ask yourself. Everything is upside down, it says. You got to ask yourself, why was Christ a monk? Is that what you're saying? You're saying because you wanted to avoid this? Why was Christ a monk? What about the conspiracies that he had a wife. Nah, I don't know about all that. You got to ask yourself, why was Christ a monk? To avoid all this mess, I guess. I mean, everyone's going to come together a little fallen, but you don't have to be that crazy. We don't have to be. That's kind of some of the point with, I guess, when we talk about it on this show, maybe on Jesse's show. You may have heard it before that, you know, men and women come together in a fallen state. And so you're left wondering, well, and I guess we're supposed to be monks. And never marry, that will be the ultimate form. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you should have that in your mind either. Oh, I see your calls coming in. 888-775-3773. But I don't know if you should have that in your mind either. Because it's a little arrogant. Well, you don't know the plan. Yeah, I think maybe all relationships come together in a little bit of hell, but you don't have to assume it's going to be crash your car into the side of a building hell. You don't have to assume that, because before, at one time, you were in the complete dark, just walking through, stumbling, your hands out in front of you, bumping into everything. That was you before you could see yourself, before that you had the light, before you forgave, right? You guys following? You guys watch Jesse, right? You guys just sitting here not paying attention? Or as opposed to before in the dark, as opposed to now, a little bit of guidance, especially when two people in a relationship might have that, hey, maybe things can work out, and then you overcome things later, right? Okay, my point is, don't maybe not have in your mind that it should be anyway, that your life is supposed to go anyway. Just pay attention to yourself, whatever. There's a little bit of a point in there somewhere. I got James out of Michigan. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hello, Nick. It's 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎.
What's up?
Hey. If you want me to call in.
Are you first time on my show? I don't think you've ever called any of the shows, have you?
No, that's the most time I'm working when your show's on, and
nice.
Pretty sure you wouldn't like to hear the loud noise of the tractors in the background. So
well, appreciate that. Are you on speaker? Just help us out, and just keep it up to your ear.
Yeah, I tried to use my phone, but my speaker's a little beta on my phone.
Well, no problem. You do outside work with the tractors? You're on a farm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I work on a farm.
Nice, based. What are you guys growing?
Yeah. Well, we're growing wine grapes and sweet and tart cherry.
Nice. Some good old GMOs?
No, those are only for cash crops, which are mostly corn and soybeans.
Oh, nice.
The beta beans.
So it's like a serious, It's like a serious farm with some.
Oh yeah, we have 100 acres.
Oh yeah, let's go. Well, right on.
Oh yeah.
That sounds.
Well, and I'm home
cool.
now because I was working on fixing a well pump that got taken out. So.
Well, putting in work, right on, man. Thanks for your first time call.
Oh yeah. Of course, I always wanted to call and talk to you. I just wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
So, what do you think? Because I know that I've heard you talk about it, and we've all heard about it. Dating market nowadays is completely different than it used to be.
The dating market, you said.
Wouldn't you agree?
And what is the dating market?
Well, for example, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Well, for example, back in the day, if you wanted to try to meet up with a girl, you either meet her at a nice place, at a good church, or if you're one of them more ruffian fellows at a bar, and you used to see a nice girl, you'd say, "Hey, how are you?
Uh-huh.
You know, I want to go out, get something to eat. You know, go get some coffee." You know, and really, you'd be like, "Sure, why not?" You know, just have a good time, hang out, and maybe for them get a free meal. And how nowadays it's changed so much where you can't even do that anymore. I mean, just because of the fact that they have much higher expectations now than they used to. I mean, well, think about it. It's like, look at all these single women. America, I just learned today, America is the only country with the highest percentage of single mothers. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? what is it about this country that makes so many single mothers versus other countries? And so of course, I've been in the manosphere for about 3 years.
Okay.
Listening to different people talk about it, and it always comes down to the fact of women making choices to pick men that would otherwise not make good fathers, and they tend to ignore probably more modest men, whether they're shorter, whether they don't look as good, whether they're balding. That could be good dads because they chase men that are, top percentage of looks, and then when they're left high and dry, they get upset and then they blame. Then they make these TikTok videos about why are all the good men? Why are all the men dumping me? And then, of course, the first question is, what kind of men were you chasing? And it just goes back to the fact it's very easy nowadays for women to be able to pick up men. I mean, you can make an OnlyFans account, post yourself on there, and boom, you already got people looking for you and making money.
Would you say that
and
really...
so that's why.
Go on, sorry, go on.
Well, I'm looking at the culture of where women in the dating market have gone now versus, say, 50, 60 years ago. 50, 60 years ago, of course, women typically stayed virgins or, well, I mean, most of the time they did stay virgins. They married young, they found a nice man, settled down, become good mothers. Yes, while the husband went to work. Nowadays, the women want to go be in the workforce. And because of things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, they take jobs from men, and then they complain about, well, where are all the good men? Where is the man that wants to take care of me? But then in the same breath, they'll say, well, I'm strong, and I'm empowered, and I'm independent, and I don't need no man. Well, if you don't need no man, then what are you complaining about?
Totally, yeah. I see the pernicious effects of feminism big time, and they've been at work for decades now. So, really into the soft minds of young girls, putting into them these idea of what really equality, okay? And here's what's evil about it all, because the way and the reason here's what's evil about it, and the reason it's not getting better, because you're describing this whole dynamic where women are they're selfish and irresponsible in their youth, looking for a certain kind of man that excites them, but may not have some lasting value and all that, okay? And then they're paying for it in their later years, turning around, looking for where all the real men, how you describe, right? At the same time, there's also like the weak men that she's seen that's brought down lower and lower her confidence in men, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're seeing all this, and this effect kind of compounding like over decades. But I can't really explain it all by just describing, I guess, what you're describing is like what they call female hypergamy. With you called them, you said the manosphere. I know you said you're part of the manosphere, and what you're describing, the whole thing is what you guys call hypergamy, right? The women want to date up and all that, and so they're willing to leave.
Well, and hypergamy is biology. I mean, it's no surprise that throughout history, of course, women always tried to pair with a man that she saw would provide security, would provide protection, would provide the types of necessities that she would desire for her and, of course, the child. And then what she offered was her beauty and her fertility. That was the primary, that's why, of course.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain. Here's the thing. I'm following what you're saying. But to the manosphere guys and to the guys who talk like this, there's truth in what you're saying, but I don't think it really fully explains the whole phenomenon here, because how do you explain then the women that are in it, that are willing to, for example, to throw away relationships that are stable, that are bringing them the things that you said, right?
Yep.
So then why are we getting these women throwing that away? Cheating, infidelity, 50% divorce rate.
Well, look at it this way: 80% of all divorces in this country are initiated by women.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Well, for starters, let's look at the fact that the divorce system, and Jesse's got quite a few people in the following that have expressed similar stories. The system benefits women very much. If you married up, that's why women typically marry up. If you marry sideways or down, you are in the losing end of that. And most women don't do that. Most women marry a man who's going to make good money, who's going to provide many things, and all she has to do is not be happy anymore and then get a divorce. And in many cases, they can get lawyers that can basically, I forget the term, but basically they're allowed to be paid in the back end as far as after it's settled. Men don't get that.
Yeah, the courts on the woman's side. There's incentives from the courts. There's incentives from the law, incentives in the tax code for single mothers. All that is true. But hold on. How do you explain then?
And alimony has benefited women for a very long time.
But how do you explain?
That's why you have women like in Florida that are complaining about alimony being ended.
True.
And one woman talked about how this will kill her, which means she has to survive living on a divorced man.
But you still can't explain to me how. Because if I'm following your framework here, the woman is a hypergamous creature, and but also in your framework, she's she trades her her fertility for a stable mate and what's it called, protection, blah blah blah. And in many of these cases, they have those things, okay, and yet divorce happens and families break down. 80% from the women, blah blah blah. How do you explain that in your framework?
Because they profit from it. They profit from it. You take away alimony, take away no-fault divorce, you take away the bias of soft custody to the woman, you take away I will give Ireland credit. Ireland doesn't let you get divorced. So I'll give them credit for at least giving you a decentive to marry someone up, stick with them till somebody better comes along, divorce that guy, collect the benefits, and marry again. That's why there's so many men in this country alone that have gone to the manosphere, because they have been burned in divorce. And any of the people listening in here that have been divorced and have gone through the system, you know what I'm talking about. You understand how difficult it is for a man to have to, prove that that he is a better candidate for his children. You know how many single mothers, like Jesse talks about, he talks about the amount of single mothers. And the fact is the mother turns the child against their fathers.
Exactly.
Most fathers, I'm sure, want to be in their child's life. But the mother, being evil, tells them how bad the dad is, how he doesn't care, but also at the same time collects the amount of
and this is why it's not getting this is why it's not going to get better, because I don't really see the simple man standing up to that spirit. That's what I don't see. And this is kind of what I'm getting at. I see your point. You're saying, okay, the reason for this, Nick, your response to me, well, because they benefit from it and they're evil and greedy enough to do it. Fair enough. I'm following you. Let me maybe I'm adding to it. Maybe I'm giving you a different answer, but let me give you kind of my take. I think the whole conversation has gotten so unnecessarily complicated, okay? And tell me where you guys disagree. 888-775-3773. Maybe I'm just ignorant. But you started off this call by asking me about the dating market. When did the whole thing become a dating market? Like, what is this unnecessary complication on hypergamy this and the woman needs this and this fulfilled, and if this amount of percentage is fulfilled, then most likely she will do that. Like, things got real complicated when it's really just boy-girl stuff. There is no oh my God, women are so hot. There is no. It's really just binary. You're attracted or you're not attracted to someone. There's no like all these levels. And am I making sense here? Like, it's all complicated, and the answer is not. I don't think so complicated either. It's men actually have to stand up to the woman, for real.
I get where you're coming from. I do, but I will challenge you this. let's be frank here. Most of the dating market, especially for the Gen Z, is done through apps like Tinder and Hinge. Let's just be honest about that.
Let's just be what?
If you
Say it
actually
again.
look at if we're being honest as far as where the dating market has evolved to, especially for the Gen X and then not Gen X, I'm sorry, the Zoomers, and maybe even later parts of us, they're not going and meeting women typically out and about like it was done in the old days. They're meeting them through apps like Tinder, Hinge, and whatnot. And if you actually look at their statistical data, it actually shows men actually swipe women a whole lot more than women swipe men. And because of that, women have a much higher pairing rate than men because women are much more selective. And why are they selective? Well, it's understandable. There's certain things you're looking for. But at the same time, many times they're looking for the Chad and Tyrone, the hot guy that every woman wants to get with, the guy that isn't, if you were in school, it's the guy that women fawned over, the women wanted. Meanwhile, the normal guys, which could be good dads and good husbands, get ignored. And that's typically why. And that's one problem with some of the conservatives.
I think
like
that stuff is overblown, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's a little bit of a fantasy. Like, I think it's true. It is like there's like a spiritual truth to that, like in the sense that women want real men, for example, that statement. Women want real men. That's the truth. Women can tell when women can sniff out weakness and that kind of stuff. There's an underlying real truth, but there is also, in my opinion, a notion in the red pill manosphere world where every woman is this Instagram thought and she's this Instagram hypergamous thought, and I think that is a bit of a cartoon, wacko world view, like fun mirror. What's it called? You know, those circus mirrors view look at men and women today. When it's actually a lot simpler. It's just boys and girls, and a girl gets heartbroken, and now hates boys. You know what I mean? And grows up like that. There's also a different kind of archetypes here, but not to be so infantile about this situation. It is a serious thing, but that's just kind of how I see it.
And you make some fair points. I will say this, though. It's not a phenomenon. It's not a fantasy that this country has the highest amount of single mothers. And you don't just become a mother unless you make a choice.
100%.
Choices are made. And
that
so
never gets talked about.
Okay. Right. And that's what I am talking about. There's no other country with a higher percentage of single mothers. And the fact is, until you actually investigate why that is, you're never going to get your actual answer. And it's not a phenomenon. It's not a fantasy. It's not just out of the blue. These are choices that are made. And then the worst part is because of things like TikTok and other elements, they go on there and then they complain about where are all the good men? Where are all the good men? I'm a single mom because I didn't make a good choice, but now I want a good man to take care of me because of it.
I guess I see. No, and I don't deny what you're saying. I guess simply, if I may be even simpler, is that I hear what you say, and I hear that the courts are against the man. The women are out of control. They've been brainwashed by feminism. We got people in the government doing this or that. We got people in the media doing this or that. But that doesn't mean guys, that doesn't mean we have to be little, weak, beta losers with women. You see what I'm saying? We could still, even if they get mad at us, even if in some cases, and this is not legal advice, throw us in jail, right? Let's say, someone hits you, right? This is not advice. I'm just saying. That doesn't mean why do the world is that way? Why do we have to go along with that? Can we rustle some feathers here and be men? Okay, am I making some? That's all I'm saying.
And that's a good point. There's a lot of evil in this world.
And not make the babies out of wedlock and not that's also what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and feminism unfortunately created the idea of sexual freedom.
And not get into a relationship with a woman who's not going to obey. Right? Because I'm here, we talk red pill this and we're Christian that and conservative this, but then those same guys, us, whatever, we'll get with a woman and be weak. Anyways, we're kind of in the weeds here a little bit, but I hope we made some sense to each other here, James. Man, appreciate your call. Anything else you want to say?
I very much agree with you. There's a lot of evil, and men need to be strong again, but also be strong enough to understand the fact that women make their choices because of evil, and that doesn't mean that you have to settle for it.
Right.
And I do feel for the men in court who do suffer the bad end of it by many times. I have a friend who was married 35 years, and his wife left him for a younger man.
I'm glad you brought this up, man. Here's another thing, too, that I mean. Sorry, I want you to finish your thought, though. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That was my
I'm glad
big
you brought
point,
that up.
How do you throw away a 35-year marriage for a younger man?
Okay, here's another thing, too, that I wanted to mention. When I'm talking about the world is the way it is, and we're going through this stuff, divorce that, the government's this way, the media's that way, can we at least not give people a reason to call us weak? And, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't give in. And here's another, and on that, following that same vein of thinking here, I'm glad you brought up this about feeling for men and the divorces out there and the stuff that they're going through. Can we also, men, and look, whatever, Nick, you haven't been through it, fair. But I think this following statement will still be true. Can we stop with I went through so much. I went through a divorce and it's just so hard and women are just so evil, and the wimping and whining about it. You know what I mean? I was hurt by a woman. I was hurt. I was deceived and lied to, and I feel for all the men out there who are going through the same thing, guys. It's fellas, it ain't easy. Let's remember, guys, nobody cares about us in that way. Nobody cares about us when we talk like that. So we're not even going to get the nice little emotional, the stuff that the women get anyways. And if we do, it's going to be out of pity. So can we not act like that?
I agree.
Nice.
I absolutely agree. And getting emotional is kind of a beta thing to do anyway.
Yeah.
It may just as Jesse would point out, it makes more sense to follow God, follow the truth, but also call out. I mean, when you have women that do what they do, it's not, even with the conservatives like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro, who cover up for some of the feminism, somebody has at some point has to call out the fact that, hey,
totally,
if women want to keep acting this way, don't settle for it.
Yeah,
because you're basically accepting evil.
Yeah,
God said you cannot dwell with evil cannot dwell in the same house as good. And if women choose to do that, that's evil, and you would be doing a disservice to yourself and to God by inviting that in just because you feel that you need to. Again, that's also a beta thing to think that.
Fair enough, man. I appreciate that. Anything else you want to say before I move the wheels here?
No, not a problem, Nick. Appreciate you taking my call. Have a blessed rest of your stream. I'll be hanging out with you.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you later, my friend. Have a God bless day.
Call me again. Moon Cricket stinks, ladies and gentlemen. I think, did he change his name from Moon Cricket? Was it something else? And then he made it a little cleaner. Moon Cricket stinks. I was informed that might not be a nice... Oh, I just did my Googles. Maybe you shouldn't Google. Not everything needs to be Googled. Can we agree? Oh, everything is upside down says, huge misunderstanding, Nick. Genesis 3:16 is not fantasy. Let me look that up. We got some Bible. Genesis 3:16. What do you mean everything is upside down? What have I misunderstood from this whole thing? What did I misunderstand? What does Genesis 3:16 say? It says, this is the New International Version. I'm using the Globalist Bible here. Don't get mad at me. Genesis 3:16. To the woman, he said. Oh, this is the curse? This is when God cursed the woman? To the woman, he said, I will make your pains into... I will make your pains into... No, hold on. Trump God? Trump was God? Wait. Let's calm down. Let's calm down with the blasphemy. Hold on. I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Oh, okay. Huge misunderstanding, Nick. Is it something I misunderstood or the caller misunderstood? Because I agree. She will be contrary to... What? It says your desire will be for... Should I go to a different translation? You're telling me everything is upside down is in the chat. If you're misunderstanding what's going on right now. And he's telling me that, I guess it says, she will be contrary to her husband. So am I reading a woke feminist translation here? What's going on? How do I get the real one? King James Version, 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. I don't know. She will be contrary to her husband. Are you telling me that she was cursed to always be against the man? I'm not understanding, man. Maybe call in. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband. What? What the? That's like different than some of these translations. Is this like a translation issue? So, yeah, you'll have to like let me know about that. It's a little confusing. Maybe it's a different translation, but it seems like there may be a translation where the Bible says the woman is cursed for her desire to be contrary to the husband. Does that explain the continued fight between men and women today? Is that what you're saying? Nice. Well, thanks for your call, Moon Cricket Stinks. Appreciate that. All right. What shall we do now? Oh, I don't want to miss any super chats here. Hold on. Carver, appreciate your super chat, says, how many of these divorced manosphere guys did things and got married in the right way? To quote the great James Hake, blame belongs on both sides. Yeah. Because I think people get this idea in their head on what people are saying. Like when we're saying, I guess, the right way. I mean, I guess that doesn't mean you're not going to have problems. It's just that at least you're not adding all this mess. You know, man and a woman. The man is leading. There's no previous children or other relationships and previous marriages to add mess. You know what I mean? At least you're not doing all that. Married the right way. And there may be even a right way that I may not fully understand. The right way to get married. I mean, if the road is wide to destruction or whatever, maybe most people aren't going to get married the right way. Ever. But I guess maybe I'm just speculating here. What are we getting from that anyways? Let me just leave that as an I don't know. Maybe this, maybe that. That's just confusing. We don't want to be coming up with conclusions on what that means. What it means to be married the right way. If God sends you a woman, if you don't know, you don't know. I got a caller here, TJ, out of the United Kingdom. Sir, you're on the air. Appreciate it. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, I just want to clarify Genesis 3:16 for you.
Okay, help me out. That was you in the chat.
In the way. Yeah.
Nice.
Most Bibles say it the way that you read it, but a few versions, you may have come across it, say it as she will be contrary to her husband. And that's the basis to all of this whole situation. And that's why even the people that are still married, most of those marriages are unbearably unhappy. I mean, I don't.
Right, you're talking about the other 50%.
Yeah, of the 50% that are still married, probably 45% of those are desperately unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones with the little man walking behind the wife, etc. You know, the constant, and it's because of this thing, Genesis 3:16. I've tried to mention it many, many, many times. And once you understand that, you can understand the conflict that happens between men and women, and then you no longer take a rosy-eyed view of the situation.
A rosy look at what? When you say situation, you mean marriage?
Or just the male-female relationship.
So, as opposed to a rosy look at it, what view should we have of it?
It's a spiritual battle. Like it's she will be contrary to her husband, and it's not just the husband; it's to all men. Women are contrary to men. She was made primarily. A woman was made by God to be a helpmeet to her husband. If not to the husband, then to Christ. That's it. Nothing else. There's nothing equal. There's nothing going on. That's the entire context of a woman being created, is to be a helpmeet to her husband. And if she doesn't marry, then it's, to God.
Okay, so not a rosy outlook then. What outlook would you do? What kind of outlook would you say this is then? You wouldn't call it rosy. You would call it.
I'm just,
And if it's, I'm following you saying it's realistic. Okay, I got you. And the realistic outlook on men and women is that it's a endless fight. It's the spiritual battle. It's Satan versus, it's heaven versus hell. Is that fair? Am I somewhere in the ballpark to what you're saying here?
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah, and
I appreciate what you're saying. I don't think you're wrong. I just don't. Sorry, go ahead. I'm following you.
Anything different, for example, that Jesse said, for example?
Well, no, I don't think so. And like the words you're saying, it's like it's true, right? In the same way that, in the same way, it's just true what you're saying. It's a spiritual battle, and there's these two spirits at play, and they're in people, and they influence us inside of us and inside of others. Okay, it's a big old mess. But, when you call it a rosy outlook, we shouldn't have a rosy outlook and you call it something else. You know how I see this in my mind? Because you describe it, right? And it's like this endless fight, this spiritual battle, heaven versus hell, the woman versus the man. But in my mind, I don't see it as like such a big showdown. And maybe this is ignorant. Tell me what you guys disagree. But I kind of see it. It should be, in my opinion, more of like a what's it called? Like funny. Like, oh look, there's Satan. There goes Satan. There goes Satan losing his mind. Let me just. You know what I mean? Like it ain't that deep. Like, because have you ever noticed when you watch someone just lose their mind?
Incredibly deep.
When you watch Satan lose, because we're talking in the context of a relationship, right? And the relationships are every day, day in, day out, little moments, little details, perceived slights, perceived this and that. Okay, it's day to day. A vigilance, that requires like a daily vigilance. I see it as, and this, in my opinion, in my mind, that fight should be kind of more like lighthearted. It's just, oh, there goes Satan being Satan again.
Well, why would you hang out with Satan?
Because you make kids with her. And now you're like, oh, dang, it's Satan. And now, because you're strong, because God actually made you strong for real, you just laugh at it now.
You know heroin will kill you, and you keep on doing it. Because it's fun. You laugh at it. You inject the heroin because you know it's going to kill you.
Okay.
But
that's how everybody gets together.
And that's why Christ was monk, and that's why Paul says it's best. I know this is really difficult because
No,
as a
I
young
understand
man,
what you're saying. I think we can agree on this. We can agree on this. The most based alpha thing to do, let's be real, full on monk, you go all the way to the end. It's just you and God, and like for real. And it's just, I'm doing your will. It's just me and you, God. Let's go. But so that's the most base alpha monk thing. Okay, let's put that aside. Now for the rest of us, here.
But why would you put that aside when that's literally what?
That's more tongue in cheek. I wouldn't make that decision about myself in my mind and say I'm meant to be a monk or not. I wouldn't make that decision.
No.
But I'm describing it in a tongue in cheek way to, I guess, express what I'm trying to express here abstractly. If we're not too lost in the weeds here.
I don't think we're lost in the weeds. I'm not. I don't feel lost.
Okay, good. Good.
I think you'll probably see it later on in life.
Okay. Yeah, I might.
But the older guys are trying to show you things, and Jesse's constantly saying, women are the children of the devil. Satan is their daddy.
But I'm also seeing a lot of men who just are still hurt and still kind of not over all that, and so I'm seeing I see that in this whole kind of space as well. Men who
but that's because people haven't
made it out to be this
shared knowledge. They haven't shared the knowledge and the wisdom of Genesis 3:16.
Mm-hmm.
And so people will go into these situations with, men are in love, women are in business. Men go into this situation pure of hearts, etc.
But that's also a fantasy. Men are not in love and either.
Well, women are definitely in business.
But I know what you mean. Like that is a masculine thing. It's a masculine, manly thing. True love, and that's something men have. It's easier for a guy to like in his mind love the woman because of her, as opposed to the business transaction of the woman. As you're describing the feminine spirit versus the masculine, you're correct. But that's also a fantasy. Most men are the opposite of what you described. And so that doesn't really fully accurately describe the dynamic between men and women today. It's not that women are just you see what I'm saying? The manosphere, these guys, they're not wrong. They're not wrong, but it's not an accurate description of the dynamic between men and women today to say that men are just logical in love.
I don't recognize the description that you have of men in this, let's call it the manosphere, of these complaining and this kind of stuff.
True, fair enough. I know that's not you. That's true.
I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I see people that are just purely speaking factually. There might be a couple of, black pill guys or whatever that have just been burnt and, are going through the process of, coming to the truth or whatever, and are just, broken and weak and,
I bet you Jesus had Riz.
I don't. You bet he what?
I bet you Jesus had Riz. You say he's a monk.
What's Riz?
I'm sorry. If he was around the ladies, they'd be laughing and having a good time and maybe learning a thing or two about themselves. And maybe they got mad.
What's Riz?
Riz is the what modern people call game or ability to speak to women.
Well, the guy could do miracles. He had the ultimate game.
Exactly. But to have it, you can't have like this distaste.
If he could have had
of women.
Any woman he could have done. Can you imagine? I can turn water into wine. I can, raise people from the dead.
I imagine like
he had the ultimate Riz, but he still didn't do it because he knew.
Right. So he wasn't he didn't sound like a angry MGTOW guy. Not saying you do. I'm not saying you do.
I really don't recognize this angry MGTOW thing. I don't recognize it at all. I really don't recognize it. I don't see any people that I listen to in the so-called manosphere that are like that. I just don't recognize it. I think it's a media-driven attack to suggest that MGTOW guys are, these angry. I really don't see it. I'm not being defensive. I'm just saying I don't see it. I don't know.
I appreciate that, man.
Where do you see it? Where do you see these?
Oh, in general.
Angry...
Well, just the name, men going their own way. I mean, I'm not really referring to a specific media or anything. It's just in a general kind of spirit that might be, you know how there's a difference between having your criticisms and having anger? I'm talking about that.
I don't see.
And there are men who aren't
there
just simply pointing out the differences and having criticisms of women. It's like rooted in like an anger, and so they're not seeing clearly.
I really don't see. All the people that I watch and
so there are no men who've been wronged by women in the courts and all that have become bitter and angry and are not seeing clearly. You're telling me they don't exist?
Every single man has been, but now you're doing a female thing of going to an extreme example. Every single man has been abused, etc., by women, from their mother to their grandmother to their girlfriend to their aunties to their sisters. That's a given. But
that's the point of this whole conversation is that... Sorry, go ahead. What you were saying?
What I'm talking about is I don't recognize this kind of anti-male thing because men going their own way.
If you don't recognize
men going
it,
their own... I don't see it at all. I don't see it in anything that I don't know where you.
It's interesting, man, and I think you should pay attention more because if you don't recognize that, then you may not be seeing a point that a point of self-reflection for men. You know how we need to focus on ourselves and overcome our own stuff.
Yeah,
that's something to pay. That's something to reflect on because that is not only true. Denying it is kind of
evidence. But where's your evidence? I'm asking you, where are these people that you say? Because I don't know any of them. You're suggesting, you were talking to this chap that was
look
just
at the brokenness of the
earlier.
home. The evidence is right there. The divorce rate, we've been talking about it this whole time. And the whole point of this conversation, well, not the whole point, but another thing to get out of this conversation is what I'm trying to demonstrate or describe here is how you say every man has been abused from his mom to his girlfriend to this and that person. The point I'm trying to make here is that guys can go through all that, but you don't have to be abused. You're not abused, and none of that happened to you. You're actually you're a man. You're untouchable. Anyways, not denying the stats and all the. This is not a denial of everything we just talked about. We talked about many things here. We don't need to rehash it all. But man, TJ, it's been an interesting conversation, man. Anything last thing before we move on here?
No, thanks for taking my call, man.
For sure, man. Appreciate your call. Call me again. I got nice calls coming in. Appreciate it. 888-775-3773. Let's rock through these calls. Am I making it? You guys follow me here? Come on. Some of you guys see what I'm saying here. And if you disagree, you could call in. Fiona, Chicago, Illinois, you're on the air. Thanks for your call.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem. First-time caller. That's awesome.
Something. Sorry?
First-time caller.
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I listened to Jesse Lee Peterson, listened to Hake, learned a lot, but never called in, right? The radio shows, they're a little different. But now that I'm listening to you, and then just this gentleman, right, before you answered my call, I was thinking to myself, like, we are all individually the source of power that we are looking for. It's just people really tend to, confuse or look for answers like, hey, how do I do this, instead of searching, for themselves. And it's become almost like a mental illness of laziness / fear / uncertainty / so many of the negative connotations. And if somebody would just decide to be brave and just be like, man, you know what? I got this. I have to have the know-how. God is in me. God is going to help me. Let me do this.
Right. I think I'm following you.
Right?
I want you to finish what you were saying. Are you...
I was a little bit, when I used to listen to JLP, I would get a little triggered. I know that it was true, but I didn't know any better, right? Until I started, coming out of my thoughts, started digging, deep into who and what I am, God helping me out. I mean, I get a little emotional because I really stepped into my own hell to overcome it. I didn't have to get pushed into it. I didn't luckily have anything crazy happen where I didn't have a choice. I willingly said, hey, if I suck, I clearly don't know any better. Let me figure this out on my own. Who's going to have the answers for my questions other than me?
I'm following you. Yeah, it's kind of how I was saying. We got all these things, the government, this and that, we're wrong, the court, but can we at least not give the world a reason? Is that kind of how, are we on the same page there?
A little bit, but I just don't really consider the government as part of my world. They're a world that I know about, respect, and just don't have anything with them. And then I have my world that I have been slowly but surely, taking care of, preparing myself, wanting to live that good quality life, busting my ass for it, being honest. And even with honesty, another thing the gentleman right before you answered my call said, about other people. And it's just nobody is even relevant. Not even your immediate family. Nobody is relevant. You have to let everybody go through their own thing and come to their own understanding. And the only way to do that is to be a living example of it. Yet we have so many questions that we'd like to have the answers to before we go into this. And that's everybody's mistake. And it's okay. But learn from them. And thank God we have conduits like you and JLP and, Dr. Thomas Sowell, even in his day. I mean, he's still alive today. I think, one of the most important American people alive today. Okay? Not a lot of people even heard about him.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys are the conduits for God that is honestly showing people how to live their lives. And
I'm a conduit of something.
They're still going through it.
I'm a conduit. You said you're still going through it?
Not me. When I hear people talking, it's he sounds smart. He sounds like a good person from what I hear. Why is he still going through it? He's obviously not doing something, or he's expecting, or, wanting.
Well, I don't think TJ's going through
him.
stuff because he says he's going monk mode. And so I don't think he's going through anything. But yeah, I know what you mean, talking about any other man in that situation. I wanted to ask you, Fiona, what do you think then, if it's true that the woman's desire is contrary to the man? Now that's only a few translations. If that's true, what do you say to women? What's your prescription to the ladies out here who find themselves contrary to their men?
If they're single, then their desire should be to be the best version of themselves for themselves. And maybe if they do get married and have children, they'd be better prepared to be, better wives and mothers. And then I guess for the ones that are already married and with kids, it's going to be hard because you guys are married and with kids, and you just can't simply be number one anymore. So you have to find that time. And it might take a little longer, but all you need is a little willpower. You could get there too. I mean, I think anybody could get there because of the power of God that's in every living being.
Right on. Right on, Fiona. Well, thank you. How'd you come across my show?
Today was just one of those days where I was like, you know what? I need to hear somebody else talking, somebody that knows what they're talking about, give me a little bit of different perspective, and so it turned you on.
You said you helped you get through something?
Oh, yeah, for sure you did. your integrity, your delivery, the way that you really care about people, it really shows. And I think you're great. I think you're lucky that you're actually doing something that you love doing. Sheesh, I could only wish the same for myself and everybody else out there, but you did the work. So it's like,
this is
enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks, Fiona. I appreciate your call. Thanks. Call me again.
For sure. I will. All
right. She's a nice lady, guys. She's a nice lady. Don't be like that. Don't be like that, chat. Nice lady, Fiona. Appreciate your call, honestly. She's all like you, the way you truly care about people. You don't know me. You don't know me, Fiona. I'm no good. I'm no good, Fiona. Nah, walk away, girl. I'm dangerous. I'm no good. You don't know me. You don't know what I think. I'm no good. I'm dangerous. She's all like, Fiona's all like, your integrity. Yeah. She's a nice lady, Fiona. Appreciate your support and calling me. I do. Thank you. Let me get to Anna, Missouri. Another bass lady on the air. Thank you, Anna. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, what's up, Anna? Go ahead.
How you doing?
I'm just fine. It's nice to hear from you.
I wanted to respond also to the caller before, the lady before. Did God say, do become a monk and do not get involved with the woman because she's the devil? Or did God say, be fruitful and multiply?
Dang! I think he said be fruitful and multiply.
I think so too, right?
But I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's something. I don't know the context or the full verse, but I done heard something about that at one time.
I think we have to remember that Jesus brought the New Testament, that the Old Testament is done. Are you a Christian and live in the New Testament, or are you still the one who's living only in the Old Testament? Because God created Adam and Eve, and both fell. And God created chose Mary, who married Joseph and overshadowed her in order for Jesus to be born. And if I could talk a little bit shortly about another thing.
Can I respond to what you just said?
Yeah.
About I guess the kingdom and all that. You know what you make me think of?
Mm-hmm.
And this goes for everyone. This goes for the MGTOW. This goes for the people who are actually mad at women. This goes for the people who just criticizing. They don't have anger and they're correct in their criticism. This goes for everyone. It's like, how come we think that Jesus' kingdom requires anything from the outside world to exist? Meaning, if I may be clear, it's almost like some people think that you can't have the kingdom in whatever situation you're in. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say you're married. Like the kingdom isn't waiting for you to be in the right or wrong marriage or the right or wrong relationship or situation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If I'm to understand this a little, it's already there. You know what I mean?
Completely.
And it'll start working its way outwards on your life, not the other way around.
It's coming from within. Yeah, it's coming from within, not from without, right?
And so, whether you go be a monk or not, the kingdom is there. Like, so I don't think it has. I don't think it's about prescribing a monk life or not. That's that's not even part of the equation.
Yeah, and isn't Jesus the one who's showing us the way, who took the thorn that God gave us in our flesh, basically the fall, the pain of this world, the thorn in the flesh. Didn't Jesus took that thorn and he
say that again?
Didn't Jesus took that thorn and elevated it by carrying it with the same non-reaction as he carried it in his flesh? And he carried it on his head as the thorn crown and brought it up. You know, the lowest level of pain, he brought the thorn and carried it on his head, enduring without any other reaction. He treated both the same. And that is important, not just for overcoming and becoming free, but especially for men also may be interesting, because men always wonder, how do I become stronger, right? And it's the same for women as well, because women can wake up too, women can overcome as well. But how do I become stronger? Because men need to become stronger in order for women to become stronger in order to lead. Well, when
For
you
a man
endure,
to become...
and as you,
I want you to finish, my bad.
yeah, when you endure, you said something really good or interesting previously to one of the callers as well. When we endure, instead of keep whining and blaming others and pointing the finger, yeah, but the woman is evil, and yes, this is that, and this is that, and, you know, I have to endure. If we just be still and do not complain about it and just endure it, just like Jesus has done it, then we don't just overcome, but we also become stronger. Each time we are able...
You don't just sit there in hell and go like, wow, I went through so much, I'm stronger. No, you actually learn and become stronger.
Yeah, and you can feel it spiritually. Each time you manage, and it doesn't matter how small it is, each time you manage not to complain about something that happened to you, next time you're going to be stronger. But when you complain, you become weaker too. So
let me ask you this.
If you are...
A week or two, go on, sorry.
Yeah?
Okay, sorry. You finished your statement? I wanted to ask you, do you have to be, because you're talking about getting stronger, going through life, does a man need to marry to get stronger?
No.
Does a man... right, I agree. Because in my opinion, you know, you can still deal with, there's a way to deal with women and get, you know, everything we're talking about doesn't necessarily mean you have to go marry them and make babies or have sex with them. You can... And I think a little bit, that's where this monk talk comes from a little bit. It's like, you can understand someone, like, you can understand someone wanting to totally never need anything from anyone, including a woman, sex, a child, nothing. You got everything from God. But at the same time, maintaining that kind of father relationship to the world and to the women, not imposing, it's at the right time, but, you know, you're still the head. And you're an example in the world, and you know you're not going around marrying or having sex with the women, and so I can understand that too. But it requires what you're saying, not a turning away, but a facing of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and but I want to remind you again, did Jesus say did God tell us to become monks, or did he tell us to be fruitful and multiply?
I guess I've heard something about being fruitful and multiplying. So that's like a command, huh? From God?
I don't know if that is a command, and I don't know where it's in the Bible.
I'm bad at this.
But I think I have heard him. I have heard it that he said, "Be fruitful and multiply." But I have not heard that God said, "Do not touch a woman and become a woman, become a monk." You know.
And it's like, here's another thing too. And I'm not saying this is what TJ was saying at all. In fact, it could be very well that TJ wants to show love or guidance to women. But I wonder if for people who are turning away and this whole like women, whatever. Right. I mean, we're here. Like I would imagine. And I'm pretty sure there's passages I've read where Jesus did the very thing I'm talking about, is he showed love to the women too, didn't he? He wanted to
Yes.
teach them and guide them and give them the same guidance that men were receiving from him.
Yes, and he didn't have game. He had love.
Yeah, right. The true Riz.
Right, the true thing. And I think also, you know how they.
But he was
talk
making those
often
ladies
about-
laugh, and they're comfortable. And like Jesus was a he's a baller. He was a boss. Of course, this is just my image in my mind. You know how that is.
Yeah. You know how they often talk about the Trinity?
Yes.
And that who will fight about whether or not Jesus was God or not, or whether or not, is Jesus God and can he be the Father and the Son and or not, or what, right?
Okay.
The Trinity, the picture, as far as I know, came after the Bible.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, I don't think it stands in the Bible. At least that's what I heard.
Okay.
And so that's why it's always questioned as well. But I was asking myself, well, what's up with that Trinity stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do Christians fight about the Trinity? Is Jesus the Father and the Son, and so on and so on? And so Jesus said, "Greater things shall you do," right?
Gotcha. He did.
And so what did he do? Maybe if we are talking about the minimum at all, Jesus shared with us what God revealed to him, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think I can agree with that.
And so I think the Trinity was revealed after the Bible was written to one of Jesus' followers or God's followers as well. So it's just something that was shared afterwards. And I'm thinking, or I'm not thinking, the question is, could it be that the Trinity is not about whether Jesus is God or not, but rather about how God represents himself in this world? And he, representing himself in the... Yeah, and God... The Trinity basically is showing that how God represents himself in this world through the family unit, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, which the Holy Spirit, they often say she, right? So they often, the Holy Spirit represents the feminine overshadowed by God.
You saying the Holy Spirit represents that?
I would say, if the Trinity represents the family unit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Joseph, Jesus, and Mary was overshadowed by God in order to birth Jesus. So that means overshadowing the feminine means protecting it from evil. That's what Eve didn't have. Eve did not have the Holy Spirit within her.
How do you figure
overshadowing?
How do you figure all this?
Her.
I wanted to comment overshadowing her. Okay, I wanted to comment on one thing before I lose it here. On the Trinity in general, you're saying, well, couldn't it be that after the time of Jesus, that all people just like Jesus and people he said would be his brothers that would do greater things like him, et cetera, couldn't it be that they were the Trinity was revealed to them later? And to that I say, well, it's not so much that can't be possible. I think when we talk about the Trinity, specifically on, for example, the Jesse Lee Peterson show or something, I see what's being pointed out here in this conversation of the Trinity is not that there is no such thing as a Father, a Son, or a Holy Spirit. That, I think, can be clear. It's written. It's also admitted to, right? Jesse said, I say that. I'll say that right now. I believe in those things. It's the confusion in that conversation on the exact nature of Jesus and how that conversation has then been used to confuse and separate, make this chasm of separation between us today, you and I, and this person called Jesus and his purpose, right? And so that's really what, in my opinion, the importance of that conversation, because it's that confusion that keeps people from knowing, for example, what you're saying, that he's our brother, greater things shall you do, that he's not this faraway figure who's God himself. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. Like, I think it's obviously that's possible. Someone being something revealed to them afterwards, and the Trinity could be one of those things. But it's neither here nor there. It's about pointing out that confusion that people have identified and have made Jesus this faraway figure. You know what I mean? That's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the emphasis of the Trinity about Jesus, that it is all about Jesus and Father or Son or whatever, is, I think, forgotten. It is the Trinity. I think it's the family unit. God represents himself.
Oh yeah, this part I don't
world.
understand. This is the part I don't understand about you describing the Holy Spirit as a representation as like the mother in the family unit, and that it's because the Holy Spirit is being protected from evil. How, in the relationship of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, how do you see the Holy Spirit being protected?
Not the Holy Spirit is being protected. The feminine, the female is protected, needs to be protected by God and by at least married. But when we talk about family unit and when we talk about relationships today, the feminine, the female, the woman needs to be protected by the male, by the Father, by the Son, by the male, by God. And that is meaning the overshadowing of the feminine that needed to be necessary for Jesus to be born is still necessary in families. The man has to lead the woman and protect the woman from evil. Otherwise, she's going to run the wrong way and is going to wind up just like Eve, believing the lie and is not protected. That is why it is important that the feminine is being overshadowed by love and protected with that.
Okay.
You see?
I think I'm following.
And so only this way we can multiply in God's way. That's why the man.
I may not totally understand, but it's definitely thought-provoking.
Yeah, God didn't say do not multiply. God said be fruitful and multiply. He was, as Jesse always says, he was tired of man making the man right on his own. That's why he made the woman.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Jesse said that.
I know. But that's because he was there, older than dirt. Right, Anna. Man, appreciate your call. Call me again. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
No.
Right on. Well, right on. Anna, thanks for your call. Call me again. Moving those wheels, and I think moving the show. What can I say? We've had some nice conversations today about some of these things. Hopefully, maybe there's something you may have found interesting there, and then you go on and discover on your own, right? These are just conversations we're having on the show. Everyone gets there. Everyone gets a chance, right? Being enlightened till I rise with the Rumble rant there. You can support me on Rumble. You guys rock. Says, hey, Nick, question. If God wanted Jesus to have a wife, do you think he would have denied God's will to stay monk? Okay, let me read this again. If God wanted Jesus to have a wife, do you think he, in this case, you're saying he is Jesus? Do you think he would have denied God's will to stay monk? Okay, so, well, let me just say, I guess no. If Jesus wanted him to have a wife, I guess, if God wanted Jesus to have a wife, I guess he would do his Father's will. If we're right, we're just logically thinking here, I guess. So, is what you're saying here, being enlightened till I rise, is that God's will was for Jesus to not have a wife? Okay. Are you saying that's God's will for all of us? I don't know. Maybe you guys think I'm making some prescription here. I don't know. I'm not saying it's God's will either way. I don't really know about that. But interesting stuff, right? Interesting calls here. I just don't think Jesus was all thinking in his mind when dealing with women that this is the devil and everything's so serious. I think it was like, dang, look at the devil, and he's so silly. He has no power. The battle has been won. God wins. Kind of whatever. Ramble. Welcome to the Ramble Show. Thursday. Dang, we're just talking about whatever today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Matt, living the dream. I seen your transformation, man. Can we talk about that tomorrow, maybe? I want to talk about health and habits. Matt, living the dream, always been around. I've met you personally. You and your family, wishing you well. Let me see, any other super chats here? We got Moon Cricket Stinks says, great conversation, Nick. Good points. I'll call again. Thank you for that. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 says, Riz is being fake for sex, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. He said something else. I don't think I could say that. Moon Cricket Stinks says, does God call men to marry a young non-virgin? I don't know. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒏 says, where did the idea of becoming a monk originate? Blessings to you. Remain present, free of concern for your future self, and simply exist. Fair enough, 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕. Thank you for the super chat. Right on. Nice. All right, that's the show, y'all. Catch you guys tomorrow. We got a flight tomorrow. Don't miss it. We'll be taking off at 4 p.m. around there. That's Nick's stream here on YouTube and on Rumble. Follow, subscribe right here if you don't want to miss notifications for all that. We'll be back tomorrow. We got Open Line Friday for tomorrow on the JLP show. And, of course, the Hake Report. You don't want to miss it. And the flight, we got the Fallen State at noon. 4 p.m. should be the flight time. Other than that, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay, guys, that's it. That's the show. Much appreciated. As always, catch you guys tomorrow. Take care. Peace.